There are moments in life when you don't need advice. You don't need answers. You don't need fixing. You just need reassurance. Reassurance that you are not alone in what you're carrying. And if you're here right now, listening to my words with a quiet heaviness resting in your chest, this message is meant for you. Not to rush you, not to push you forward, not to demand strength you don't have today. It's meant to sit with you. Because the most beautiful truth the universe wants you to remember is this: you have never been forgotten, and you have never been unprotected, not even in the moments that hurt the most. You've been living in a world that asks too much of you, a world where pain feels personal, where loss feels unfair, where waiting feels endless. The human realm is one of the hardest experiences a soul can go through, and I know there were seasons where you did everything right, yet still watched things fall apart anyway. You tried to stay hopeful. You tried to stay faithful. You tried to stay strong. But behind closed doors, there were moments when you wondered if anyone, God, the universe, anything at all, was actually listening. Those thoughts don't make you weak. They make you human. The human experience is not gentle. It stretches you. It breaks you. It repeats lessons until they sink deep into your bones. There were cycles you didn't choose, losses you never saw coming, versions of yourself that didn't survive the journey, and you had to grieve those versions quietly while still showing up to life. That kind of exhaustion doesn't come from doing nothing. It comes from enduring. And here is something rarely said, but deeply true. There are periods when the universe allows you to feel the weight, not because you are being punished, but because something within you is being refined. The dark nights you survived were not mistakes. They were crossings. There are moments on the path where the soul must walk through silence so it can learn to hear something deeper than noise. Moments where everything familiar dissolves so you can finally loosen your grip on what was never meant to stay. That hollow feeling you carried, it wasn't emptiness. It was space being made. You didn't lose your way. You are being gently redirected. Divine care doesn't always arrive as comfort. Sometimes it arrives as removal. Sometimes it looks like doors closing, people drifting away, plans unraveling. Not to harm you, but to spare you from staying somewhere your spirit was shrinking. There are things the universe will not let you carry forever. Pain has an expiration date, even when it doesn't feel like it. And what you've been moving through lately, the confusion, the heaviness, the sense that something old is ending, that is not abandonment, that is intervention. Because here's the truth that changes everything when you finally let it land. You are being taken care of, even when you can't feel it. Not just in the outcomes you want, but in the outcomes you don't understand yet. Not just in the blessings you recognize, but in the protection you'll only realize later. Some of the greatest mercy arrives disguised as delay. Some of the deepest love arrives disguised as loss. And there will come a moment, maybe months from now, maybe years, when you look back at this exact season and realize how gently you were guided away from something that would have cost you your peace. The universe doesn't rush souls who are becoming. It prepares them. And preparation often feels lonely. There are times when growth requires isolation, not because you are being pushed away from others, but because you are being pulled closer to your own truth. When the noise fades, when distractions fall away, when life slows down against your will, that's often when alignment begins. Not the loud kind, the quiet kind, the kind that teaches you that surrender isn't giving up. It's letting go of what was never yours to control. It's releasing the belief that you must carry everything alone to prove your worth. You don't need to fight so hard anymore. What's meant for you doesn't need force. What's real doesn't require exhaustion. What's aligned doesn't demand suffering as proof. There is a rhythm to life that the mind can't always understand, but the soul recognizes instantly. And right now, whether you realize it or not, you are being held inside that rhythm. Even on days when faith feels thin, even on nights when fear feels louder than hope, you are still being guided. There is care woven into your delays. There is love embedded in your endings. There is protection hidden inside what didn't work out. And the most beautiful part is this: You don't have to earn this care. You don't have to be perfect to receive it. You don't have to understand it for it to be real. Your only task right now is to soften instead of resist, to stop arguing with the timing, to let yourself rest in the knowing that something greater than your fear is already at work. Because abundance doesn't arrive when you chase it. It arrives when you align with truth, when you stop betraying yourself just to keep things comfortable, when you stop shrinking your needs to fit into spaces that can no longer hold you, when you stop forcing chapters that are already closing and allow endings to be what they are, quiet, necessary, and sacred. When you choose honesty over attachment, when you choose what feels real over what feels familiar, the universe responds to authenticity, to sincerity, to the quiet courage of staying true, even when it costs you something, even when it asks you to walk alone for a while. And if you've been choosing truth even when it hurt, if you've been saying no when it would have been easier to say yes, if you've been letting go even when your hands were trembling, you are closer than you think. This isn't the end of your struggle because you suddenly did enough. It's the easing of it because you've become ready to receive differently, ready to receive without chasing, without begging, without proving your worth through exhaustion. You are not meant to suffer forever. You are meant to evolve. You are meant to grow beyond survival, beyond constant effort, beyond carrying the weight of everything on your own. You are meant to experience life with more softness, more ease, more trust. And beyond this chapter, beyond this realm of lessons and heaviness, there is peace, there is restoration, there is a care that doesn't exhaust you, a love that doesn't demand endurance, a safety that doesn't require explanation. You are being guided toward it, step by step, breath by breath, even on days when you feel unsure, even on nights when fear tries to convince you that nothing is changing, even now. So before you leave, I want you to do something sacred, something simple yet powerful. Write this in the comments as your declaration. I surrender my worry, and I trust that I am being taken care of. Write it slowly. Let each word settle. Mean it gently. Let it be a promise to yourself, not to have everything figured out, but to stop fighting yourself along the way. And if you feel it in your heart, share this message with someone who has been quietly carrying too much, someone who keeps showing up while falling apart inside, someone who needs to be reminded that they are not alone, that they are not forgotten, that care exists, even in silence, even in waiting, even in the unseen moments. Sometimes the universe speaks through us when we choose to pass the message on, not in loud declarations, not in perfect words, but in simple moments of honesty and presence. Sometimes healing doesn't arrive as a miracle or a sudden change. It travels quietly, from one person to another, from one heart to the next, carried through shared understanding, shared silence, and the simple reminder of, I see you. Often, we don't even realize when it's happening. We think we're just listening, just sharing, just showing up in the only way we know how. But to someone else, that moment becomes a lifeline, a pause in their pain, a breath in the middle of their exhaustion, a reminder that they are not invisible in their struggle. And today, without even trying, without having all the answers, without being perfectly healed yourself, you might be the reassurance someone else has been praying for. You might be the sign they asked the universe for in a moment of quiet despair, the confirmation that they are not alone, that their suffering has been seen, that their endurance has meaning. Sometimes the greatest healing doesn't come from fixing anything at all. It comes from reminding someone that they are still held, still worthy, still guided. And if this message found its way to you, maybe it's because you were meant to carry it forward, not as a burden, but as a blessing, not as a responsibility, but as a quiet offering of light. Because even in silence, even in uncertainty, the universe is always speaking, and sometimes it speaks through you.